We just had a go around, so it seems like the pilot wasn't too sure whether this was going to be a safe landing. Crew is very distant. They seem to kind of have a no engagement policy. Do people ask a lot more questions since the crash?
Yeah. But we try to...
Yeah. Air India is going through its hardest times, and many have asked me, are they safe to fly? So I did, and experienced a whole smash. A missed approach in Colombo, cabin crew that is instructed to not engage with customers, and an airline that is afraid to lose its reputation once the final report is published. And from what I hear behind the scenes, things aren't looking great. Could this be the end to an ambitious project? We shall find out in this videos and the weeks to come. If you're new to the channel, my name is Josh Cahill, a multi-award winning aviation YouTuber with over 500 million views, and I love to hold airlines accountable for the promises they make. My favorite hobby? Featuring unique airlines from all over the world. I organized Afghanistan's first all-female flight, and I'm also proudly banned from Qatar Airways. Having millions of people watch my reviews in India, I got many questions about whether Air India is safe to fly these days and what it's like on board. So I booked myself a flight in both cabins, one leg in business and the other in economy, to get a general feeling of the current atmosphere on board and to answer your questions. And here we are, checking in for our Air India flight to Delhi.
But premium and economy, it's overbooked.
It's overbooked because yesterday everything was cancelled, right?
Yeah, everything was cancelled.
Do people ask a lot more questions since the crash?
Yeah.
Yeah?
But we try to give them like limited answer because
obviously,
we're gonna just provide false information.
Yeah, no, of course. But I can imagine everyone is asking for 11A.
Yeah, definitely.
Is it a thing?
Yeah.
Without being insensitive, I was just like asking, yeah. So, all checked in for my Air India flight due to the Iranian missile attack on Qatar on Monday and the UAE airspace closure on Tuesday, and having all flights being cancelled yesterday of Air India means today on Wednesday all the flights are overbooked. So I'm lucky that I got a ticket for this flight since they tried to accommodate all the stranded passengers of the last 2 days. But guys, let me ask you a question. Given the current circumstances, would you fly Air India? Let me know in the comment section below. I gotta be honest, I've never seen Dubai airport this empty. Given all the flight cancellation and diversions that happened in the past 2 days, I was expecting it to be like overrun, people trying to get their flights, but there's literally nobody here. It's very, very empty and very, very quiet. So a lot of people asked me, because they knew that I had that flight booked, they said, do you really want to take this flight? First of all, I gotta say, and I was very vocal about this on the day it happened, that Air India is chaotic, Air India is hectic, Air India is known for delayed flights and drama, etc., etc. But if there's one thing they're not known for, it's a poor safety record. Indian aviation regulations are some of the toughest in the world. Obviously from the ATC recording and the Mayday, the distress call by the Indian pilot saying there's no thrust, lost both engines. For someone who has been working in aviation all his life, and other experts and pilots that I have spoken to, nobody really understands what could have happened. A dual engine failure is something really unheard of. The chance to win the lottery is a lot higher than to have a flight or a plane lose both engines. But yeah, let me know in the comment section below what you think happened. And here was my plane, Air India 787-9, and luckily not the troubled 787-8 that was involved in the accident a few weeks ago. And the ex-Vistara planes are newer and usually in much better shape. I've seen terrible photos of poor maintenance of the Dreamliner that was involved in the crash, so I'm happy that this plane is a lot younger too. Alright, let's board the 787-9 of Air India, which used to fly for Vistara. I mean, you all know they merged recently, and they're now flying under the name of Air India. Thank you. So, here we are. Welcome aboard Air India. And you probably want to know, what is the atmosphere on board? What does it feel like? Very quiet. Crew is very distant. You don't see them in the cabin. They seem to kind of have a no engagement policy. Keep probably everything to bare minimum, because I can imagine that maybe a lot of travelers are really concerned, maybe ask a lot of difficult questions, and perhaps that they want to avoid that. I think there's two ways to go. Either you go all in and you over comfort your passengers and you be around, you show presence, or you take the different approach, which you have in this flight, and you just stay out of the way of the passenger and maybe avoid stupid jokes about 11A, or generally get engaged in conversations about the crash last week. Personally, I would feel a lot better if the crew would be more present, more reassuring, comforting the passenger, taking this tension away from them. But it's definitely not happening here on this flight. Also, like in business class, especially like on the Air India flights, they're very quick to come to you and to welcome you, to have a chat, to introduce themselves. That's not the case on this flight here. It's a bit surprising, but so I'm sure when they're thinking about what strategy we're going to pick, that's the approach that we're going to take. And on top of that, my thoughts and prayers go out to the people that have been affected in that tragedy. And I can imagine that the crew, especially in this flight, they have lost colleagues that they love, that they used to fly with in this tragedy. And it's not easy for them as well, going back to normal under such circumstances. So total understanding for the way they deal with all this. But as a result of that, there is no hotel, there's no pre-departure drinks. I'm gonna head straight to the runway. So we are taxiing to the runway. First of all, let me confirm that the flaps are extended. That was a hot topic when that plane crashed. And how do I feel? I'm pretty comfortable, to be honest. I mean, the chances to die in your sleep are a lot higher than on an airplane crash, and we all love to sleep. So that gives me a little bit of comfort, and I'm sure that they do go through the checklists 4 or 5 times now at the flight deck to make sure that nothing is going to happen. Flight time is roughly 3.5 hours, because we do have to avoid Pakistani airspace as well. I mean, there's so many things happening in the industry. 3 days ago, I landed minutes before the closure of the airspace in the Middle East because of the war between Iran and Israel. And Pakistani airspace is closed to Indian Airlines because of the war or the conflict, or that little dispute they had a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, I just really wonder, why do people need to kill each other? Why can't we just love each other? Yeah. In my head, I was counting until 10. That was the moment Air India's Dreamliner lost all thrust and started to lose altitude. I did that unconsciously, but even as a freaking flyer, I gotta admit that these thoughts go through my head too. It's okay to be worried and honest to yourself, and if you don't feel like flying right now, this is totally okay as well. So food just arrived, looks pretty good, really lovely. But let's quickly talk about what happened 2 weeks ago. I remember I was just getting a haircut. I walked out of the saloon and then I got a notification. BBC breaking news, a flight, an India flight from Ahmedabad to London Gatwick just crashed.
and I immediately knew it was going to be a wide body, and it was most likely a 787 Dreamliner, which never crashed before. And I was like, this doesn't sound right. And then on my way home, I was driving home, I was getting a lot of messages already. People, hey, have you heard of it? What do you think happened? And then news outlets reached out to me from Great Britain, LBC, GB News, then Republic TV, a couple of channels from India wanted to hear my opinion. But yeah, it's really difficult to talk about these kind of things because you don't really know what happened, why the plane crashed, and you don't really want to speculate. Though I think it's important that we talk about these kind of things, right? If you wouldn't have done that about the 737 MAX and question a couple of things, Boeing would have done a good job hiding the truth, right? And to be honest, with the Dreamliner and the whistleblowers in the past saying they wouldn't send their family members on Dreamliner flights also makes me kind of suspicious. What went wrong? And so yeah, it's important to talk about it. You know, we do really get to the bottom of this. But yeah, I remember it was a very, very hectic day. Then you start updating people on your social media. As an aviation news channel, you inform people. I remember it was a very, very busy day. I don't like days like that because everyone is talking about it. It's the main topic in the aviation industry, in which I have worked in for so many years. And then on top of that, I have so many friends that work at Air India. So obviously it's tough, you know, because you manage their faces. I have so many crew friends as well, and imagine they would have been on that flight. That's sad, and it's not easy, especially when this is your industry, when your life revolves around airplanes, and then I have such a big audience. I think it's my second biggest audience after the US. So yeah, that's part of the business as well. But now, before the food gets cold, let me try what the chicken breast tastes like today. The flight was eventless and the crew remained in the galley for most of the flight. We then started our descent, and I gotta be honest that this was a very, very strange experience, and I don't really know what to make of it. I guess I was just very happy to get off the plane and leave that environment. I tried talking to the crew and tried to understand their feelings and why they act the way they do, but none wanted really to talk to me. I respect that.
Welcome to Delhi. Over there, the Airbus A330 of Nepal Airlines, which I'm going to fly on Sunday. So if you need a good reason to subscribe, right there it is. So hit that button here right now. And if you have already subscribed, please put on the notification bell so you don't miss out on my next videos, which are going to be very good. So, and here we are. Welcome back to Delhi. That was a weird flight, but there's one more coming tomorrow, flying to Colombo. So let's see how this one tomorrow is going to compare to the one that I just took. And now let's head to my favorite place in Delhi, Air City.
On my way to the hotel, I was thinking that maybe I was just unlucky with the crew, and perhaps tomorrow's flight is going to be very different. But let me tell you that my flight to Colombo was even more extreme and very, very out of the ordinary. So stay tuned for part 2.
Very good, thank you. So here I am at the JW Marriott. Do we have a view? Not really. But if you come to India and then you realize India is not for you because it's culturally very different, the Air City here is always a nice escape from the madness that Delhi and India can be for somebody who hasn't been here. So it's a lovely place. Okay, gonna have some rest, and tomorrow we fly Air India's 321 to Colombo, and let's see how that one is gonna be. See you later. So guys, and here we are. Welcome to Delhi Terminal 3, and everyone who watches my videos knows how terrible and horrific it can be to check in on an Air India flight. Yeah, one of the most unprofessional airlines when it comes to the ground experience. So let's see how it goes today. So let's check in for our flight to Colombo.
Hi, how are you? Okay. Quite full. Can I get a seat, a window seat in the back somewhere, if it's possible? Thank you very much. Beautiful, thank you. Have a good day. So, all checked in, no drama. It was quite civil. Nobody was pushing, nobody was jumping the line. Even the gate agent checked me in. Usually they come up with some excuse why they can't check me in and send you to a different counter. But today everything worked smoothly. Very happy to see that. Now let's head to the gate for our Airbus 321 flight to Colombo. Well, that's a sight you don't see very often. An Indigo Boeing 787 Dreamliner. I mean, it is not a dedicated Indigo plane. It is flying in cooperation with Norse, the Norwegian budget airline. But last year, or 2 years ago, I flew Indigo's 777, which they flew between Istanbul and Delhi and Mumbai, flying out a wide-body operation, which apparently was quite of a success. So that's why they ordered their own Dreamliners as well. I think 30 of them. So yeah. But yeah, Indigo is quite of an Indian success story. It's one of the very few airlines that ever really worked in this country. Boarding Air India to Colombo, my old home. Actually very excited going back. It's been a year. Meeting some good old friends there while I'm there. And yeah, but let's see how this flight compares to the one yesterday. Hi, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
Good. So here we are on board the 321, and yeah, pretty much the same procedure. No smile, no nothing. Crew avoids all kind of interaction. Yeah, surprising to see though, no? You would think they would be a bit more comforting or nice or giving you that feeling, hey guys, you're in safe hands. They're just like super cold, distant, and yeah, maybe traumatized. Could be as well, you know, that this is hard times for them, so they just maybe don't want to be friendly. But yeah, if you feel like flying Air India these days because it's cheap due to the accident, they have some really good offers at the moment, I would not recommend you to do so. When you notice the poor state of this Airbus A321, you do get a bit worried. And when you see the flap in such conditions, which is not a very common sight, to be honest, you do get a bit worried. And I just feel like Air India is now paying the price for an airline that was in the hand of the country for too long, and they would save money wherever they can and neglected their fleet beyond imagination. And now Tata needs to clean up the mess. I don't really know what to make of it. This flight was even more intense, and the pilot ordered the crew to sit down due to very light turbulences about 5 times. It just shows you how super sensitive and overly cautious they are, which isn't always a good thing, and it doesn't give you that feeling of confidence in the airline. And we then got ready to land at Colombo International Airport, but things would get even more intense. Look at this. Just had a go around, so it seems like the pilot wasn't too sure whether this was going to be a safe landing. So yeah, a procedure that they're really well trained for, but still kind of tells you a little bit about the general atmosphere at the flight deck after the crash. They're nervous, they want to make sure that they land safely, so better safe than sorry. So flaps and gear down, going for our second attempt to land here in Colombo. And while the pilot ordered the crew to sit down for light turbulences a couple of times during the flight, he failed to inform the passengers about what was just happening. What a good pilot usually does during a missed approach is to give passengers a heads up and a peaceful mind, as many passengers seem to be very uncomfortable about what just happened. Well, second time lucky we made it. We are safely on the ground in Colombo. Thank you. So here we are, welcome back to Colombo. Great feeling to be home. And yeah, you could see at a few seats that people removed the life vests because they perhaps panicked after we did the go around. So yeah, I mean, it's a pretty basic and standard procedure, but if you're not a frequent flyer and then on Air India after everything that happened, I can imagine it gets a bit scary at times. But now let's go and meet Ajeet, our good old friend. So we gotta find Ajeet. Where is he hiding? Where is he? Ajeet, they're so busy. How are you? Nice to see you. All good?
Yes, good. The thing is that they're persecuting a lot of people.
Here we are with a familiar face, Ajeet.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
You're good?
Being very good.
Very good. I'm so happy to be home.
Oh yes.
Home, my
Good to
emotional
have you
home.
back, yes.
Yeah, nice. I heard my subscribers are coming, booking tours with you. That's
Yes.
amazing.
So many of
Yeah.
them coming through.
That's what we want, right?
Exactly, yes.
Yeah. How's Sri Lanka these days?
Sri Lanka is good. Got back to track and we have so many visitors coming in. And we are looking at lots of bookings coming in for the winter season this year. So, and even the summer season has been good.
Yeah.
So it's been, it's a good place.
Remember from not having any petrol
Oh yes.
and staying at home, and that's when I was still living here, to now
Exactly, yes.
not having an off season anymore. That is wonderful. But Ajeet is the guy. He's always taking care of my subscribers. So if you come to Sri Lanka, and please come, it's one of the most beautiful places on earth. You can take care of everything.
Oh yes.
You can drive them around, you can book
Yep.
them tours, you can give them advice.
One-stop shop.
One-stop shop. That is it. He's the guy. I put your WhatsApp again
Yeah.
in the description. Your email. Reach out. He has great stories to share. He will show you where I lived as well.
Oh, yes.
There's a special Josh Cahill part of the tours. So he will show you where I ate. He will show you where I lived, and but generally he will show you how beautiful Sri Lanka is. So happy to hear that things are good.
Yes. Looking forward to seeing everyone here.
There we go. Are you born, right? So guys, and here we are back in Colombo. It's so nice. The guy who walked me to the room from the reception, he is a subscriber. He was very happy to see me. My phone is buzzing. Everyone's like, welcome back to Colombo, Josh. And this is the ITC, very new hotel. It's part of the Marriott group. And this is the view that I have. Look at that. Wow. Very, very beautiful. Gull face right here. I used to go down there and eat garlic. Gull face Hotel. And yeah, it's nice that Sri Lanka is doing actually really well again. After living here, I lived here during the hardest time when they were going through the crisis. There was no petrol. It was very, very, very different. We had protests. So all the protests were happening actually down here. Very intense times, but now things are a lot better. Speaking of intense times, I think this is what we experienced today on Air India. Very different atmosphere on board. Some things I don't understand. I don't really know why the crew isn't really comforting. They're very distant, and you could tell also how nervous the pilot was today. Every time there was a little bump, seatbelt sign on, the crew had to sit as well. The go around, yeah, I really hope and I wish that Air India is figuring it out very soon. Let's go back inside. It's very hot outside. Yeah, I really hope that Air India is going to figure it out and that normality comes back. But it's also very important that that report comes out, you know, and that we keep on pushing, because everyone remembers the Max story. And from everything that I hear from people and from experts, they say something is wrong about it. Something doesn't sound quite right. So perhaps it is a Boeing problem. We don't know, but it's very important that we put the pressure on them, you know, that we keep on reminding them that we want to see what happened, you know. Boeing has a history of trying to get away. They murdered a lot of people, literally, in the name of profit. And we must make sure that these kind of things don't happen again. And the families that lost their children, their mothers, there's people who lost their fathers, and they deserve an answer. And this is, I think, the most important thing here. Profit aside, we need to know what happened and whether the Dreamliner is a safe plane to fly or not. This is it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I shall see you next week again. Thanks for watching.